One of the most interesting, if not life-changing days of my life was getting to deliver a wardrobe for Eddie Hall. And the reason I say it was life-changing is that I hadn't been going to the gym for a while. I was, but look at the videos. I was a handsome young man. However, I was lacking in strength, and that was pretty apparent when his 12-year-old son squatted my maximum as his maximum. Although his 12-year-old son is ridiculously strong. Like, at that time, I squatted 120 kilos, and so did his 12-year-old kid, which is wild, right? But that was a good wake-up call for me that I need to get back in the gym and start lifting some heavy things. And so aside from a beautiful wardrobe, which Eddie Hall received from us, which Eddie Hall was dressed by LGFG Fashion House, something else beautiful happened that day. It got my butt back in the gym, and it got me working out again, and it got me strong, and it got me focused, and it made me better. And that's the impact that being around better people has on you, as you get better. So without further ado, here's the wardrobe for Eddie Hall by LGFG Fashion House. We wanted to start off with a very creative outfit that is absolutely not something a normal human could wear. However, Eddie Hall is no normal human. This is inspired by the Hulk. So first notice that the vest sleeves are not actually stitched in. Like, you have the sleeve opening rather on the vest. They're torn. So we actually put sleeves on the vest and then torn them off. So it looks like he just broke out of the vest, right? And then if you also look at the jacket, we have a Nehru collar, which is designed in that sort of a super villain style in this case with a high Nehru collar. So this is truly a creative design. This is not anything we would make for our regular clients. Nobody would order that. But for Eddie Hall, who has this sort of a larger than life persona, we thought it would be germane to make something that would expose the villainous side of Eddie Hall, which, by the way, there really isn't much of a villain in Eddie. If you know Eddie, he's a very agreeable, hilarious kind of guy, super cool dude, very easy to spend time with. But being larger than life as he is, being an incredibly powerful individual, like physically strong, having exaggeratingly large muscles, we felt this was something that would fit the brand. So probably my favorite suit in the Eddie Hall collection. There are some very awesome suits that I really like. Like, I like the Predator suit, but this is probably my favorite suit in the Eddie Hall collection. It might also be my favorite suit that I've ever designed. Yeah, and that includes all the really, really fancy suits that have gone very viral. The reason I like this suit is I have a personal connection to video games because I grew up as a gamer. And so when we got to hang out with Eddie Hall early on, it was very surprising for me to learn that he actually gamed. Considering that even at like 18 he already owned a house, he was, bodybuilding, he was 12 years old, the British national swimming champion, the records, he still holds the British junior records, I think, for the overhand stroke. So it was surprising to learn he found time to game. And Eddie Hall's a big fan of Final Fantasy VII. I was a fan of the Final Fantasy series as well. And then, parlaying that into role-playing sort of puzzle RPG games like Zelda. Anyways, I'm dating myself here. I still played Zelda. I actually beat Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2 in the last couple of years. So 280 hours. How do I find the time? I kick the kids out of the house and I play the Switch. That's how. Anyway, so Eddie liked Final Fantasy VII. He even has a replica sword. I don't know what it's. I think it was actually carved out of wood, so it's not really a replica, but he's got a Buster sword, which is the Final Fantasy VII sword. And so it made sense that we would make a Final Fantasy VII suit for Eddie. So if you notice, the lapels on the suit are in fact shaped like swords, like Buster swords. I just had so much fun designing this. The inside lining, of course, has the Final Fantasy VII themes. It brought me back to my high school days of being super cool and being the guy that everybody wanted to be with, because I gamed all the time nonstop while eating potato chips in my room alone. Everybody wants to be friends with that guy. Anyways, that guy's done pretty good, huh?
I love seats. Like he said, right.
We've covered trainer suits for celebrities like Russell Peters and Michael Franzese. Eddie Hall, and actually, and even Martin Ford has a beautiful trainer suit from us, which we can show. For Eddie Hall, a lot of Eddie's current endeavors includes brand building. So he retired as the world's strongest man. He won in 2016. He broke the deadlift record with a 500 kilograms, so a half a metric ton deadlift, which is incredible. His nose was bleeding, his ear popped, he was like passing out. I mean, that was an incredible achievement. One small step for man, one giant step for mankind, right? Kind of an achievement. Really pretty cool. So a trainer suit, of course, is reflective of Eddie's sort of athletic nature. For this one, we were also able to weave the Eddie's logo, Eddie's branding into the back of the jacket. So it's just kind of a very useful garment for a guy like Eddie, you know, for walking out onto different stage events, like interviewing before fights. Of course, we knew at that time Eddie was already looking to get into professional fighting, which he did now. And man, he's so strong, it is insane. Also, what I like about this particular trainer suit is look at the fastening on the pants. It's a soft waistband with a string tie. So again, very casual. And that's one of the cool things about a brand like LGFG. Of course, we tailor the best suits in the world, but we can also tailor casual wear, which looks sleek and elegant, and at the same time maintains a level of casuality. This is like the kind of stuff that I wear on my flights. So I look slick, elegant, but also I'm comfortable. You know, if you're going to be a famous guy, you might as well have a tuxedo for a famous guy. Light Paisley tuxedo. Tuxedos are, we have a video on what is appropriate to wear for tuxedos in terms of colors and designs. A Paisley self-colored tuxedo is going to be appropriate for an artistic event. You know, Eddie Hall's not going to any sort of board meeting type of black tie events. He's going to be the creative force in the room. He's obviously got some fame behind him, so a Paisley tux makes sense. Double-breasted in this case. Double-breasted suits look better on Eddie just because of his build. He's a bulky refrigerator type build, which is quite good for double-breasted suits. We put his dog inside. He's got this gigantic dog named Wolf. It is as physically imposing as Eddie himself, which is not easy to accomplish. So everything about that man is imposing. You know, he drives a tank. We'll talk about that in the video too. Like, he literally took a tank and refurbished it to be street legal, and he drives it like literally to the gym. Imagine Eddie Hall in a tank driving to the gym down the street. That's what happens. So here we have the tuxedo for Eddie Hall. Would you wear a tuxedo that is Paisley? What do you think? So the black suit for Eddie Hall is one you've seen a lot on his social media. He does a lot of these skits with bodyguards, so of course it makes sense that a black suit would be sufficient. This is the black suit. We themed this after the Terminator, which is one of Eddie's favorite movies. So if you look at inside, the lining actually features a Terminator metallic skull, but also some of the features on the suit themselves. So look at that red button. So it's a black suit. The red button is indicative of the eye. You know, when Schwarzenegger's face gets thrown off and you see the eyes and they're like beaming red. So you can see it's not a human, it's a cyborg. So it's got the cyborg eye button to highlight the Terminator theme of the suit. So Eddie really likes this suit. It's something that he has found a lot of use in. So I enjoy sort of a juxtaposition of themes. You know, when you have a strong and powerful dude like Eddie, you're thinking about military and dark colors. So putting him in a light suit, is, especially like a light linen suit, is something that sort of shows his lighter side. And, you know, Eddie is a sweetheart. Like, really, he's a hilarious guy. He's so easy to chill with. But this is kind of what happens sometimes. You know, as a kid, you see To Kill a Mockingbird, where you see a character that comes off as intimidating, as scary, but once you get to know them, you understand they're actually a soft and compassionate, empathetic person underneath. That's Eddie. This is also a suit that is themed with the World's Strongest Man championship belt that we wove into the suit. We took inspiration from ourselves because why not imitate yourself, right? We did a suit with a championship belt vest for Lennox Lewis that was woven in right into the vest. In this case, we did a print of the World's Strongest Man belt. One of the reasons we did it for an outdoor summer suit is because if you watch the World's Strongest Man, a lot of the events actually take place in the outside heat. So this is a suit that he can wear, for example, if he comes back to one of the events and presents an award or you know, does a guest appearance. This will be a suit for that purpose. purpose. In the lining, we've got the trophy for the world's strongest man. So a reminiscent suit for a guy that has accomplished something particularly unique, which is winning the world's strongest man title, which I've heard is not easy to do. You have to literally be the world's strongest man. So if you actually look at Eddie Hall's profile pictures, in some cases, like I have Eddie on my WhatsApp, and his profile WhatsApp pictures, in fact, him wearing this outfit with his family. This is just so funny to me. The idea of Eddie Hall going to the beach. And I'll tell you guys something. Like, if you've had a moment in your life where you've actually got to see Eddie Hall in person, I've spent some time with him. If Eddie Hall was to go to the beach, nobody would be able to take their eyes off of him because he's so gigantic. Like, he is so wide. He is so powerful. He's built like a refrigerator with muscles. His muscles have muscles, and they're bigger than my muscles. Like, everything about that guy, you can poke him anywhere on his body and it's like poking an oak tree. He is just that strong. And so it's just hilarious to me to see a guy that imposing, that strong, that powerful, that attention grabbing, wearing a shorts and short sleeve matching combination on the beach. And just for fun, as a little troll, we had Eddie pose in this outfit wearing his socks, and we superimposed a beach under the socks. So he's wearing socks on the beach. And of course, you know, the natural instinct for us would be like, hey man, you shouldn't be walking around on the beach in your socks. But you're just never going to have the balls to say that to Eddie Hall because he will break you. So one thing that you should know about Eddie Hall, he's a real guy's guy. You know, he lifts weights, he likes action movies, and he loves cigars. We've had some great conversations with Eddie about cigars, and he's told me what he likes to smoke. So a smoking jacket was something that was absolutely necessary in Eddie's wardrobe. And for when he's smoking with his friends, we also have a smoking jacket for Martin Ford. He's a good friend of Eddie's. We went with a burgundy, which is the classic burgundy with the black lapel. This is sort of the traditional smoking jacket. And it makes sense because Eddie is from Manchester. He is a gentleman. He's a British gentleman, so a British smoking jacket is what a British gentleman deserves. Love the bomber. So keep in mind, one of the key facets of the bomber is that you're supposed to be able to sit down in it. So it is a shorter jacket. So if anybody asks about the length of a bomber is designed to be shorter. It's supposed to cut off like just below the belly button because you're supposed to be able to sit on an airplane in it. And of course, there's got a warm collar, the sort of furry collar. That's because the fighter pilots would actually fly sometimes in an open air cabin. So it has to, you know, you want to keep your neck warm. And in some cases, you know, can reach up as high as your ears. So this is kind of the traditional bomber. It's got a lot of the insignia on it. This particular bomber by LGFG Fashion House is one I really love because it's made out of very soft sheep leather. So lambskin leather, very, very soft, very agile, very malleable fabric, something that moves around as you move around. It's a lot more comfortable than it looks. It's quite warm as well. And again, you know, when you're thinking about Eddie, you're thinking about sort of pugilistic themes, and the bomber really fits into that theme of that sort of combative type of an endeavor. And then of course, Eddie Hall's really good friend is Brian Shaw. They're always competing with each other, always one-upping each other on social media. So we had to match and remind them of their friendship because Brian Shaw also has a similar bomber by LGFG, and I'd love your opinion on which one you like more. I present you Eddie Hall in a classic bomber.
This for you? Oh man, that looks awesome.
We wanted to show a couple of extra pieces in this collection because a lot of our clients don't know that we have a leather maker in our staff as well. So we make leather, which is, by the way, leather making and suit making is very different. It's different professions. A traditional suit tailor will not touch leather. A leather maker won't touch suits. They're just very different. It's like working on a, you know, on a car engine and an airplane engine. Like, yeah, there's some underlying fundamentals, but you know, a mechanic won't work on an airplane, and an airplane mechanic won't have the same skill set as a car mechanic. So we wanted to show something here from our leather lines. Here we have a classic leather leather jacket. This is a very traditional 2-button leather jacket with a peak lapel. So this is something that a lot of young guys are lacking in their wardrobe. I mean, it is my belief, and I strongly feel this way as a clothier, as a, let's say, fashion expert, that people have claimed me to be, that a classic traditional leather jacket is an absolute imperative in a young man's wardrobe. It's a very useful piece for going out into various environments. Of course, it works in a business casual environment, also works in a casual environment. It's something you can wear to the club. It's something that you can wear to school. It's something you can wear to work if you're taking the subway to work. It just has a lot of use. It's also something you can wear on a date. You can even throw it over a t-shirt. There's just so many uses for a classic black or, let's say, dark brown leather jacket. So we wanted to showcase that. If you don't have a classic leather jacket in your rotation, it's absolutely an imperative that you get one. Doesn't have to be from us. Of course, we make very high-end ones with sheepskin leather. Take a look and, consider getting one for yourself at some point. So this is the most recognizable and most famous suit from the collection for Eddie Hall. It sort of started a tradition for us in camo suits, because there's one for Eddie, there's one for Brian Shaw, there's one for Russell Peters. We did one for RG3. So there's a plethora of celebrities now that have a camo suit. The idea behind this is, we were talking to Eddie. He shared his love of, growing up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so we wanted a suit to highlight Eddie's connection to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the movie Predator was a good connection. Such a classic movie. Get in the chopper. So we've got the classic camo coloration. Inside we have themes of the movie Predator. The buttons are actually shotgun shells. If you take a look closely, we got refurbished shotgun shells made into buttons. So again, everything about the suit really highlights the Predator theme. And then we actually have a video we can put here of Arnold Schwarzenegger signing the suit, because Eddie took it to Arnold. So now there's a signed Arnold Schwarzenegger suit themed as the Predator for Eddie Hall. Eddie also had a contest where he took a high school student to prom in his tank, and it was like, somebody had to win the contest, and he actually wore that suit for that in his tank. It was, what a sight, Eddie Hall in a tank wearing a camo Predator suit. Absolutely legendary. Just a legend. So the very first suit we made for Eddie Hall, first of all, we wanted to nail the double-breasted pattern for him, because Eddie's body, like that square body, is really ideal for a double-breasted suit. Like men have body styles, right? We have a book called The Michael Franzese Guide to Mastering Style and Elegance, where we cover all the different body shapes that men have. One of them is that block shape, which is absolutely ideal for double-breasted. So we needed to nail this pattern. We did a good job on the first delivery. Eddie's not an easy fit. Like, his figurations make no sense at all. Of course, they don't make any sense, right? Like, there's just no other body like his on Earth, nor has there really ever been that we know about. And certainly no tailor has made a suit like that before. So one of the main things we had to adjust was, because Eddie's lats are so abnormally large, like, he has a really hard time putting on his shirts. Like, his lats are absolutely the biggest I've ever seen. And I've worked with Phil Heath and Ronnie Coleman and Brian Shaw and all these massive guys, but Eddie's lats are just hyper grown. And that's part of the genetic, DNA that he carries. He's got this thing that sometimes is called the Hercules gene, where his muscles grow to absurdly large sizes. And so those lats actually force us to do a backwards pitch rotation on the sleeve. It's a very technical thing for a tailor. However, as we delivered the first suit and we took care of it, you notice this is a perfectly fitted suit on a guy that has never had anything fit perfectly in his life before. Classic kingpin suit, double-breasted gray pinstripe. Eddie Hall looks absolutely amazing in this jacket and in this suit overall. One of the key pieces that really set the standard for tailoring for muscly guys by LGG Fashion House. And I think that when guys look at this suit, again, we're talking about Ronnie Coleman, we're talking about Phil Heath, when Martin Ford, when these guys see Eddie wearing this suit, it gives them confidence that we can deliver for them as well, which we did. Coming back to the Eddie Hall theme, we've got a sort of a rendition of Eddie's face in the suit, like him kind of going, the beast, Again, a lot of the themes about Eddie's wardrobe is just about his personal brand, because this is actually how he makes his money now. Like, he doesn't compete anymore in weightlifting. He's got a couple of movie roles here and there, like he was in The Expendables 4, but primarily he's a social media personality, so a lot of it is branding, and Eddie is a marketing genius. I mean, there's no question what he's accomplished in social media is so impressive. Yeah, so in conclusion, guys, of course, dressing Eddie Hall was a big privilege. It's something that was a lot of fun. Getting to know Eddie has been a privilege college as well. He's extremely funny. He's extremely intelligent. He's socially very bright. Like, Eddie's actually a really bright guy. We even did a podcast with him where we asked about some of Eddie's success principles and what Eddie was able to accomplish by the time he was 20, before he even got into the, hyper competitive levels of the strongman. What Eddie accomplished just coming out of his teens is already more than most people accomplish in their lives. Like with his swimming records, how hard he worked becoming a mechanic. A lot of people don't know that. He started buying houses so he can create a cash flow business for himself just so that he can afford to eat the calories that are required of him to eat, because he's always wanted to win the world's strongest man. I mean, the commitment was incredible. He's an incredibly inspirational person, and working out with Eddie Hall was a revelation. It was so cool. I went in my suit, and so I was in a suit working out. We got the whole thing on film. It really got me back into the gym. For the last 2.5, 3 years, I've been very consistent about that, and that's in large part thanks due to Eddie Hall, because I didn't want to look like a bitch in front of him ever again. So what a great guy, what an inspirational guy, what a fantastic time, and I'm sure I'll see Eddie again as we kind of do run in some similar circles from time to time. And I just really appreciate an opportunity not only to dress Eddie Hall, but to actually learn from him and to be able to just steal some of the energy, some of the ambition, some of the conscientiousness that a person like him carries. And it's truly a world-class level of commitment that he conveys in everything that he does.